Hello, Shemai, Shalom. Fi henw James Davies. My name is James Davies. Lay preacher James Davies. If you're wondering what I am wearing around my neck, well, I have worn this before in my previous sermons. It's just that I haven't worn this in a long time. It is my stole. It's called a stole. Let me take it off. You can have a look then. See, I just thought I'd start wearing it again. I might as well, since I bought the thing. See, as cross as it is, there we are. It's what high priests usually wear, such as clergy men from the Anglican and the Roman Catholic and from the Roman Catholic Church. Even though I am not a member of those two Christian denominations, because, as I said before in my previous sermon, I don't believe in Christian denominations. I just think all of those should be scrapped, and as Christians we should again just live as what we were before, as what our ancestors were before, first century Bible believing, God fearing Christians. Okay, so anyway, I got my stole on. In this sermon, also as well, may I recommend an awesome film. An awesome film called Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Starring Kevin Costner, Christian Slater, Morgan Freeman, and the late English actor Alan Rickman, who was an absolute legend. Loxley, I'm gonna cut your heart out with a spoon. Good days, good times. And cancel Christmas. Okay, so anyway, right. Enough of the small talk. In this sermon is going to be entitled, Did Jesus Christ Come to Save Everyone? And this is a sermon that I was supposed to do on Sunday, but I never got round to it. So this is why I'm now making the sermon here, at this particular time. Now, I've talked about this before in a previous sermon called The Dark Side of Christianity. I don't particularly like that title, but it was the only title that I could come up with at the time. So this is going to be a similar sermon to that one. In fact, call this sermon an update to that previous sermon, but there's going to be some updates on this particular sermon. So, did Jesus Christ come to save everyone? And not only from their sins, but also from their elements, such as people's physical and mental disabilities. Did Christ come to die for everyone's problems? Well, if you have your Bibles with you, please turn to the Gospel of John. John chapter 6. And we will be reading from verse 32 to verse 40. So that is John chapter 6. That is John chapter 6 from verse 32 to verse 40. I read from the King James Version, sometimes the New King James Version, but whatever version you use, that's entirely up to you. So here goes. John chapter 6, from verse 32 to verse 40. Here goes. And these are the words from the lips of Jesus Christ himself. Then Jesus said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, Moses gave you not that bread from heaven, but my Father giveth you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he which cometh down from heaven, and giveth life unto the world. Then said they unto him, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And Jesus said unto them, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to save me, he that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. But I say unto you, that ye also have seen me, and believed not. All that the Father giveth me shall come to me, and him that cometh to me I will in no way cast out. For I come down from heaven, and not to do my own will, but the will of him that sent me. And this is the Father's will, which hath sent me, that of all which he hath given me I should lose nothing, but should raise it up again at the last day. And this is the will of him that sent me, that every one which seeth me and believeth on me may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. What Jesus Christ is basically saying here is that it is not his will to come to save the lost. It is not his will to save people. It is not his will to come to heal people and to save people. It is the will of his Father. See, as Christians, we can only come to know Christ through God the Father. Whenever you hear a newborn believer, or even if you're a Christian who's been saved for a long time, if you ever hear them say, I found Jesus, so. I found Jesus in prison. I found Jesus in hospital. I found Jesus here, there. No, we do not find Jesus. Why? Because of our sin. Our natural beings, because of the fall of mankind from the Garden of Eden, because of our fall, by our nature, we hate Christ. We detest Christ. We hate Christ. We hate God. We want nothing to do with them. If you don't believe me, then go out onto the streets, or even do a video like this. Spread the gospel and see what happens. Atheists and every other religion outside of Christianity will come and attack you, whether verbally or physically. Street pastors get abused regularly who preach the words of Christ out on the streets. Why? Because the world hates Christ, and people who are not Christians are part of that world. Christ couldn't make it any clearer in John chapter 15 verse 18, where he says, if the world hates you, remember it hated me first. So to any Christian who says, I found Christ, no, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think you really understand what you are saying. We don't find Christ. Christ finds us, but only through the will of the Father. So, has Christ come to die for everyone? Has Christ come to save everyone? And as I said before, and I'll say it again, unfortunately, no. No. That's what the world wants you to think. This is the lie. Oh yeah, Christ came to save everyone and to die on the cross for everyone's sins. If that was true, why is it then that we still have physical and mental disabilities? And why is that then there's still heathens out there who are lost? If Christ came to die for everyone, then everyone should be saved. If Christ came to die for everyone, there should be no more disabilities. They should be a thing of the past. In fact, if Christ came to die for everyone, then people would not be born with any disabilities and be born as Christians. But we know that's not true. And you cannot be physically born as a Christian. Yes, you can be raised up and brought up in a Christian household, but that does not make you a Christian. The only way how you can become a Christian is as what Christ again says in John chapter 3 verse 3, you must be born again. Now what does this mean? It means a spiritual birth. So the only way how a person can come to Christ is if God the Father sends his Son Jesus to that person. And also as well, even if you do become saved, Christ still may not save your disabilities. Take me for example. I've got a heart defect, yeah. I also have a stammer. Why hasn't God healed this? I don't know. I've got a hunch. I believe it's because it's to keep me humble, and I believe it is to bring God's glory. In fact, there is a video that I've seen from a Christian TV series called The Chosen, and it's about little James, where he talks to Jesus and asks him why hasn't he healed him of his physical disability, and he explains why. I can't go over it because it's very deep and complicated, but I will post that video in the description box below. And speaking of that TV series, The Chosen, right? Let that title sink in. The Chosen. What does that tell you? That God's will through his Son Jesus Christ, before everyone's physical birth, even before the dawn of time, God only chose a selective few whom he should have to be saved and to be brought into his kingdom. And this is where it is so depressing. And it's quite dark as well. In fact, it's very dark. In that, why would a God who was so just, was so loving and perfect, only select a certain chosen people instead of choosing everyone around the world? And this is why, as Christians, we have to accept this. We have to accept that there will always be people out there, and continue to always be people out there, who will be lost for the rest of their lives. And when they die and they pass over, then it's even worse for them then, because it's a hellfire. Now, where's the justice in that exactly? But see, as Christians, we don't have the answer. And if anyone out there calls me a blasphemer, go ahead. But the scriptures tell the truth. The scriptures reveal themselves. Right? Your beef is not with me. Right? I'm just a bloke. I'm just a man. I'm just the I am just the messenger. Right? I am not a God, so I do not choose anyone's fate. So your beef is not with me. Your beef is with him. And to verify this confirmation even further, I've been reading a book here by author Charles H. Kraft, and it's called Defeating Dark Angels. Right? Defeating Dark Angels, Breaking Demonic Oppression in the Believer's Life. That's what it's called. I don't know if you can see that. And on page 57, it says this. Listen carefully, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that this is a wake-up call. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I shall begin. Deliverance for us is very seldom a quick command and expulsion. I would gladly do things more quickly if I could, but for reasons I don't fully understand. That's not the way it happens for me. What does happen, though, is that people are marvelous freed from the emotional and spiritual garbage, and then from the satanic beings inside them. And that makes it all worth it. I suspect the difference between my effectiveness and that of Jesus is that Jesus had perfect intimacy with the Father and did only what he saw the Father doing. In brackets, see John chapter 5 verse 19, end of brackets. Because of his complete intimacy with the Father, Jesus always worked at full power, full authority, and with perfect timing. I'm quite sure that I don't, and I'm frequently amazed at God's willingness to use me nonetheless. Jesus spent hours alone with the Father, receiving authority and instructions for the next steps in his ministry. He then ministered only to those the Father, right? Here, listen carefully, right? Then he ministered only to those the Father pointed out to him. Just as what it said in John chapter 6 from verse 32 to verse 40. I'll say that again and then I will continue, yeah? He then ministered only to those the Father pointed out to him. Jesus must have passed by hundreds of people who were sick, emotionally wounded or demonized, but he didn't choose to heal everyone. Only those the Father chose for him. I will continue and I'll stop on this last sentence. Okay. As was the case with Jesus, then a deeply intimacy with God should be our first priority. But I think what is important here is the first two sentences above. He then ministered only to those the Father pointed out to him. Jesus must have passed by hundreds of people. Hundreds. Jesus must have passed. I cannot express this enough. Jesus must have passed by hundreds of people who were sick, emotionally wounded, or demonized. But he didn't choose to heal everyone. Only those the Father chose for him. As what exactly says in John chapter 6. Jesus saves those only whom God the Father through Christ has chosen to save. And even when you are saved, you might not necessarily be healed. Case in point, me. Case in point, St. Paul. St. Paul, even though he was saved on the road of Damascus, he always complains about a thorn in his flesh. Why didn't God heal him? The only answer I can give, which is the same with me and others who also have a thorn in the flesh, is because it is to humble them, make them realize that they have to be dependent on God and to bring his name to glory. So, did Jesus come to save everyone? And did Jesus come to die on the cross for everyone? Sadly and tragically, no. And this is what we have to accept. But what I will say to those who have been chosen, such as me, to those who have been saved, such as me, is just be thankful. Thankful that you are saved from his wrath through the blood of Jesus Christ. And even though we know and now from this video that not everyone will be saved and brought into God's glory, as Christians then, should we still pray for the lost? And the answer is yes. Why? Because even though we know not everyone will be saved, we don't know who will be saved. And that's why we shall and should continue to pray for the lost. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please comment. Please subscribe. Please don't hesitate to share this video. Please don't hesitate to press a like button. And to the chosen, to my brothers and sisters in Christ, If I do not get to see you in this lifetime, I shall see you all in our Father's kingdom. Thank you all, and God bless you all in Jesus' precious name. Amen.